The topic I'm going to be covering today is a bit different from my usual content, but seeing as it is Pride Month and also something I care about, I wanted to put my thoughts out there. So let's get to it. Hey everyone! So I'm just going to jump right into this. My gender identity isn't something that I talk about very often, but I am a demigirl.
Huh? What? How? Why? I have so many questions!
Now, some of you might be thinking, what the fuck is that? Allow me to explain, hypothetical person. A demigirl, also sometimes called a demi-woman, is a gender identity where someone partially identifies as a woman or a girl, but not fully, typically also feeling agender or some other form of non-binary identity. It's pretty common for demigirls to use both she, her, and they, them pronouns, while others may prefer one over the other or have other pronouns entirely. Some demigirls may also describe themselves as being trans or non-binary, while others may not. It isn't the same as being gender fluid, where someone might feel more like one particular gender at different times, but at least in my experience, it's a pretty static identity that doesn't go back and forth. There's also demi-boy or demi-guy, which is basically the same thing, only masculine instead of feminine.
I'm just an ordinary demi-guy!
If you type, "What is a demigirl?" into Google, the featured result reads, "A gender identity term for someone who is assigned female at birth, but does not fully identify with being a woman, socially or mentally." I completely disagree with this definition. Someone can be assigned male at birth and still be a demigirl. Anyone can be a demigirl, regardless of what they were born as. I've also seen some people say that demigirls don't experience dysphoria, and while it's true that not every demigirl has it, a demigirl, regardless of their assigned gender at birth, can absolutely experience gender dysphoria. Hopefully that clears up what a demigirl is, and with that out of the way, I want to share a bit of my personal experiences as a demigirl. Pretty much for as long as I can remember, I've never perceived myself as strictly female. I actually remember times where I wished I either had an androgynous body or just existed as some incorporeal spirit who didn't have to waste time on weird gendered bullshit. There was also a brief time as a teenager where I actually tried binding, and this is kind of a big deal because at the time I did this, I was still a Christian and had no idea that trans people even existed. I could see some people looking at that time in isolation and assuming that I'm actually a binary trans guy, and the demigirl thing is just me being hesitant or confused. But despite the discomfort I felt with my chest, I never truly felt like a guy or had any desire to become one.
My goals are beyond your understanding.
I eventually stopped binding, sat myself down in my own mind, and tried to basically talk myself into accepting the idea that I was a cis woman, which worked for a while, but I still couldn't shake the idea that I just didn't neatly fit into what a cis woman was. A couple of years later, I got exposed to the concept of demigenders, like demigirl, and I was pretty shocked when I found that the description pretty much described what I had been feeling this whole time. But I didn't immediately adopt it as an identity, partially because at the time I didn't feel like it counted. That by saying I was a demigirl, that I was just being an attention seeker and taking away from other GRSM people who had it a lot harder than me. I don't get dysphoria when people refer to me as she, her. I don't have the desire to go through any kind of physical transition to affirm my gender. But just because I don't have a need to physically transition or don't have debilitating dysphoria, doesn't mean I have to deny who I am. And anyone watching who might have had similar experiences as me, you don't have to deny who you are either. The amount someone suffers doesn't make another person's identity any more or less valid. And I really hope it's clear that by saying this, I am not belittling the struggles that others have gone through. Our experiences are different, but that's okay. I just want people to know that they are valid. Your identity is valid, no matter how much or how little you have gone through. If you're a demigirl, a demiboy, or another demigender, you matter. You are just as important as anyone else in the GRSM community. Because of exclusionists and just a general lack of information, it took me a really long time, even after learning about demigenders, to openly accept that this is who I am. And just accepting this about myself was a big relief, to be honest. I know for a fact that there are people out there, including other queer people, that will say my gender isn't real or that I'm just a cis girl trying to feel special, blah blah blah. And I don't care. I know who I am, and that is all I need. And if this video helps someone else with figuring out their own identity, or helps open up the minds of others, then I will be happy. Thank you so much for listening to what I had to say today. There isn't a lot of information out there on demigirls, so I really hope that this video has been helpful. I normally talk about things related to polytheism and the pagan community, but if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like or even subscribe. And I'll see you all next time.